In this tutorial we are going to talk about ventilated roofs. To do so, we had to ask for help, as we always do, to specialists with all the information and contents. And we went to the north of Spain to ask the people of Duraflex, who are specialists in everything that has to do with accessories for roofs, to lend us a hand, not only in telling us how the constructive technique works, but also in showing us all the specialized accessories that are available. Once you know them, they are very simple, but we found difficult to locate them before we discovered these solutions. Why is this technology important? In the roofs, one of the problems that we usually have is the ceramic remains continuously wet because it is not ventilated, and many problems occur because due to the action of microorganisms, ice or tile breaks. These are situations that make roofs to be repaired. In the case of ventilated roofs, we solve this, as the name implies, ensuring that there is air circulation through the underside of the tiles, not only to preserve the life of the tiles, but also to ensure the correct insulation of the roof. The first step is to make sure that our cover is waterproofed. We are going to do it with this breathable sheet. Of course, if we already have an insulation system that also has waterproofing on top, we do not have to repeat it. But, in this case, in which we have nothing, let's put it on. It is simply a matter of extending it along the roof. They are sheets that are 1.5 meters wide, so in a really big deck, we will spread them out and overlap the encounters so that it is perfectly protected by all sides. To make a placement of the sheet and ensure it is well stretched, we can help ourselves with double-sided tape. Also in the overlap areas. Then it will be covered by the battens, with which the fastening is ensured. With this procedure, when applying the tape, be careful to always leave the protector in place until it is time to remove it to hold the fabric. Next, we will place the vertical strips. The vertical strips are actually the ones that give the thickness of the air chamber that we are going to have under the tiles. Therefore, the type of batten we use has between 3 and 4 centimeters, which is a sufficient chamber to guarantee the air circulation we need. We are not going to do it like this, you are going to forgive us, but we are going to do it with a smaller batten because, unlike the roofs that are above the houses, ours then we have to move and dismantle it. So we are going to work at scale with a smaller type of batten, but don't forget this. Anyway, when you have doubts regarding what we are going to use or not, enter our website because there we will have the most concise information of everything we are using. We will also protect the battens underneath with the double-sided butyl strip. In this way, we guarantee that, although we put tips on them, they will always be perfectly waterproofed. There is not a precise rule regarding the modulation distance we give between the battens because it will always depend on the resistance that the horizontal battens will have, which are the ones that will carry the load. In this case, since we are going to work the same as here with battens between 3 and 4 centimeters, we do not need more distance than what we are putting on this roof. When nailing, try to put the tips always well centered, just above the butyl band, because if we drill outside the butyl band, the waterproofing we have done loses all its effect. We are working with a nailer, but the fixing method can also be perfectly screwed. We are going to start doing the tile laying. The tiles are screwed in this case, these mixed tiles, with this hole we have here, and supported on the batten with these supports. Why did I bring these 3 tiles here to see them? Because I need to see what is the modulation I have between battens. Notice that each tile, each manufacturer or, better said, each model of each manufacturer tells us what the margins are for the placement of battens. It always has a certain tolerance because we are going to find twisted battens, we are going to find that the tiles sometimes also have some small mismatch. It is not a placement that has to be accurate to the millimeter, but within these natural distances, we will be placing the strips so that they match just below the screwing area. As simple as that. In this case I am seeing here that the modulation I have is, if we measure it, a modulation that goes 40 centimeters between battens, which is what we are going to take there. We will then place the horizontal strips and we will see two fundamental things that we have to learn from ventilated roofs. The first is how we start and how we put the protection to prevent birds, mice or any kind of undesired neighbor from entering the roof. We are going to do this using the grids and the eave combs. And then we will see how we do the finishing of the ridge, which is the peak moment of the placement of a ventilated roof. Two starting strips so you can see how the first row of tiles is going. And what we do next is place the eaves grid. We are going to place it with screws, always fastened to the horizontal batten. We unfold it and we can cut it with scissors. With this we protect the entire entrance to the air chamber below the strips. Next, at the top of the batten itself, we will place the eave comb. You will see that the function it has is that now, when we support the tile and slide it, it is going to push down all these small spikes that it has, leaving the entire cavity that the tile has underneath perfectly closed. This comb has a double function. In addition to the protection while maintaining ventilation, which we had seen, when we are putting the tiles that go from here to above, they all rest on the previous tile. What happens? That if we do not support it on a tile, then it falls down. Therefore this thickness is the one that allows the support that the tile gives me to match them, puts them in line with the others that are supported by sister tiles. If I wanted to put tiles that have a much steeper curve, I also have the possibility to use different combs. Like this one, which gives me more height. What happens? It does not have any type of supplement underneath. So in this case, if I have to put a comb like this, I do have to supplement underneath by putting a second batten. Whenever we can, we choose this comb that comes with this supplement because this supplement, if you look closely, also comes with a grid that guarantees that we have ventilation. In the case of putting a batten, we lose that ventilation. Think that the fundamental objective that we have in a ventilated roof is to facilitate air circulation, with which all the elements that help this circulation, much better. You have already seen that we have turned our roof. We are going to leave that part for what we have seen, which is the skirt, because here we are going to do a different job. We are going to be placing all the tiles. We are going to track as they ask us for this type of tiles, which are 40 centimeters, until we reach the top. In the lower batten, as here we are not going to put any comb, so that the tile supports us with a little more height, we are going to put a second batten. Now we are placing the tiles with the help of these tabs that rest on the batten, and then we screw them. The tiles also have a side seat that, with a certain margin, allows us to overlap some tiles over others. We start a new row of batten, checking that we maintain the correct alignment. You have already seen that we have advanced a couple of rows of tiles, and the third we have only presented because I want to explain how we calculate the height that we are going to give to this ridge abutment, which is the one that we are going to be placed just on top of the roof so that the ridge tile rests on it. Logically, since we have to give it a certain measure, I am going to explain how this measure is calculated, something that professionals already know in function of the tile, but, as you and I are new to this, we are going to do it slowly. The ridge cap is placed with these supports that will be hooked to the verticals. We have two possibilities of supports. These supports, which to regulate what we are doing is to open them more or less when place them, and this is the one that we are going to place, that we place it and then, turning the screw, it gives us more or less height. What it is about is that we have this creeper placed in such a way on the ridge that, when we support the ridge tiles, they make contact supporting perfectly in the waves of the tiles and, at the same time, they are supported on this batten. Therefore, what we are going to do is place it in this way, seeing that it fits, and we are going to take the measurement that we have up to the vertex of the roof. Let's measure the height from here. Now, to be able to place the supports once I have taken this measurement, I am going to remove these tiles that are in the last section, and I am going to remove the batten to have access to the verticals. In this case, since we are working with tiles that have little wave, we have to lower our placement of the support a lot, with which we are going to open it well to support us as low as possible and thus have the space we need. We will place it centering it as best as possible, although we will correct that later. You will not worry a lot, and we will see that it gives us the measure we need. We had between 6.5 and 7 centimeters. As you can see, it would do us good here, and all we have to do is raise the support a little, and for that we play with this screw. To make the placement, it is very important that it is well centered with respect to the vertex, for that we have this screw step here that allows us to raise and lower it. Once we have it, we can screw it definitively. Let's measure it. This, of course, when we are working on a roof that has a long measurement, what we do is that after placing the two ends we throw a thread, and thus we are fixing so that all the intermediate supports that we put go to the same level. Now, once we have the support in place, it is when we do definitely place the last batten and place the last row of tiles. Once we have placed the ridge abutment, we can already test it. Definitive way to see if it fits us well with respect to the tile. We've been a bit too long, so we lower it and readjust. We see that it has support here in the support, and it has support in the tiles on the sides. Here we would already have the batten leveled in height. When the batten is placed, we hold it with the side screws. Next step. We need to protect the ridge by putting a special sheet that guarantees that we will not have water entry below the ridge tiles, and that, at the same time, we are going to have the ventilation that we need to have throughout the roof. We got to know this Duraflex product because they had told us about the problem of maintenance of ventilated roofs. We were told that ventilated roofs work a bit like air conditioning. Traditional filters of these types of roofs have these meshes that, in effect, allow the passage of air, but being such a fine filter model, as soon as we have residue problems, dust problems and so on, this gets clogged, and from time to time we have to clean it because, otherwise, it does not respond to the demands we have for airflow. According to the building code, we have to get a ventilation of about, I don't know the exact figure, 800 liters per linear meter of ridge. This means that we have to manage in some way, that all the air that we are facilitating entry, through those combs and the grids that we have placed at the bottom, to facilitate the exit with the same efficiency from the top. What is the Duraflex solution that we are going to use? Well, this type of aluminum sheet that is also reinforced with a plastic material that prevents any kind of fracture when we bend it. At the time of placing it, you will see how we are placing this on our auction of ridge, and look, this whole area is the ventilation area in which, whatever happens, the air will never stop flowing easily. There are other aluminum materials, like this one we have here. What happens is that they have the disadvantage that, when placing them on the ridge, sometimes, as we have to spread them on the tile, it remains cancelled a good part of these inputs because, in order to get all the necessary air flow, we have to go far. The obvious solution was this: make this model larger inlet so you could ventilate. On the bottom, once we are supporting it well first, because it is very important that we first give it the shape, then we paste it directly with this butyl adhesive that it has below. An important advert. Like all adhesives in the world, if it sticks on a surface that is in poor condition or on a surface that has no grip, it does not stick. So it is very important, as long as we clean the tiles very well, and much better if we also do it with a primer or with a waterproofing agent. By having this type of entry more open, what we also have to solve is to leave the top of the roof tile perfectly protected. You will see that, when placing it, we have here this protection system so that the upper part of the ridge tile also has this wing that covers it, preventing water from entering the contact. To place the roof tiles, we place a clip on them and screw it on. We fix it to the batten and screw the clip onto the tile. We introduce the following ridge tile, fold the sheet so that it is flush, and so on. Successively, we join some tiles with others until we reach at the end. Logically, for the final cap, we will use a special ridge cap piece, just like the rest of the wings. But that is another chapter, the world of tiles to finish off roofs. I hope all this has been useful to you. It certainly has. Awesome to see these types of solutions that are not so frequent to work with, which seem complex, but once you develop them, you realize that in the end it is like a small Meccano that you have to build, and that is not so hard. In any case, if it is difficult for us, we are always sure that we have a good professional capable of making us a fantastic ventilated roof. So we hope we have earned your like, that you subscribe to the channel, if you have not done yet, and, of course, that you share this video with all your friends who like DIY.